Yes, good morning. Welcome to Ireland AM. It's Friday, the 3rd of January. We've got all of this on the way this morning.
Brace yourselves. A nationwide warning is in place as temperatures are set to plummet. We'll be looking at that plus the rest of the stories making the front of your morning newspapers.
It's freezing. It was Rangers who claimed the bragging rights in one of football's fiercest derbies last night. We'll be taking a look back at their win over Celtic, plus the rest of today's news from the sporting world.
Figures in the UK show around 1.4 million people have gone back to dating offline. We'll be discussing why people are swiping left and falling out of love with dating apps.
Brooke is outside brave in the elements this morning. She's just completely frozen.
I know. Yes, Martin, it is freezing this morning. I am joined out here by motoring expert Mick Crean with top tips for keeping safe on the roads this morning.
How are you doing, Brooke?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
You've got loads of tips and tricks.
I do indeed, but the number one thing is just don't travel if you don't need to travel. But if you do, we have lots of things here that are going to keep you nice and comfortable in the car and hopefully keep you safe as well.
Perfect. Well, that's very important, so stick around for that. But Derek has got our weather. Where are you at this morning, Derek?
Yeah, morning, Brooke. It's like an ice rink out there this morning. As the guys mentioned, status yellow, ice and low temperature warnings hit you now right across the country, with the exception of Fermanagh out there this morning. We're expecting plenty of wintry showers across western northern spots and very, very low temperatures. Quite a cold day in store, so get the layers on if you are out and about. Now, Dunleary Baths is where we're at this morning, and no, I'm not getting in for a swim, although I might do after the show, but we've come down here to visit the Happy Out Cafe. We're talking all things Pilates, healthy eating, all that good stuff in the run-up to the new year. And Martin and Elaine, I learned my lesson from yesterday because I left my jacket in Dublin, but I've the layers on me this morning.
I'm nice Midlands wearing a dry robe. Yes.
What in the name of God, Derek? Seriously.
That's all I had.
What's it going to do with you?
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Garamila Hannah Tommy Bjorn Show Dunleary Hasmally Outclear live here from Dunleary in South County Dublin. Coming up later on, we're off to visit the community at the Happy Out Cafe. We're talking all things New Year, New You. So that's all coming your way. 9:35, so another bit to go on that one towards the back end of the show. Now, Avro Valera with us at cameras this morning. So let's get into all that good stuff in terms of the weather out there. And we're kicking off indeed with that status yellow, low temperature and ice warning. That is in situ for the entire country, with the exception of County Fermanagh at the moment. You'll be waking up to an ice rink. Plenty of frost on the ground as well, sharp to severe last night, carrying through into this morning as well, with sub-zero values now to start the 3rd of the month, but holding mainly dry and settled still under the cover of darkness at the moment, with some well scattered showers trailing around western and northern spots. Now right across into this afternoon, in fact, we're going to see some decent sunshine for a time. Once again, low winter sunshine. That means a glare if you're driving on the road, so exercise caution if you are out and about. Some wintry showers could fall as hail, sleet, and a potential of snow through hilly and higher ground once again into northern spots. And we are looking at a very cold day, very low in terms of those temperatures as well. That frost will lie on the ground for some areas because it will struggle in terms of those values, only hitting highs of around 1 to 6 degrees, but again feeling colder in that polar air mass. Now right across into tonight, very similar I suppose to what we've seen over the last 2 nights. Mainly clear. We will see fog, freezing fog at time as well, dense in places with a sharp to severe ground frost once again right across the island. Another cold night in store with sub-zero values back to around -3 to +2 degrees ahead of that arrival of rain from the south then on Saturday. Anyway, that's how it's shaping up for now. Vehmi Biorish Lahur Trish Shacht Gadishin Slongafo.
You need to be chilled to handle Irish weather. That's why Chill sponsor weather updates on Virgin Media One.
Now, if you've experienced any disruption this morning, let us know via WhatsApp on 0896 111 111, because we're going to talk about that at the moment, because it's very chilly.
It's a bit cold.
Yeah.
Brooke has already been out there.
Yeah, it was so warm out.
Do
you know what?
How's your nose?
My nose is
It's actually
froze.
still cold.
Do you know what? It's actually lovely. If it was wet and cold, that would really throw me off, but the crispness is quite nice, except if you're driving. I struggle to drive in that.
Do you know what? There's a massive bug going around at the moment, right? And a lot of people are getting this lurgy that's kind of...
Oh, I had it all over Christmas. I was so sick.
It's this cold spell could actually wipe it out.
Thanks be to God, because there's so many hospitalizations from flu and everything.
Yeah.
But did you get the evil sickness yet? Because
we were waiting for it to leave, so apparently the frost kills all the germs. So hopefully,
here's hoping. Anyway,
that.
we're told to expect temperatures to fall back to what is -8 over the weekend.
Yeah.
So that is pretty cold. And then we're told of ice and snow warnings then as the new week kicks off and everybody heads back to work and school.
When is it going to be the chilliest? Is it in the next couple of days, is it?
Well, they're saying
Up to
-8 over the next couple of days. It's not the coldest we've had. Apparently, the coldest we've had was -17.5
Where was
in
that?
Mayo in 2010. So, yeah. So that's the coldest.
Was that the big freeze of 2010? Obviously. If it wasn't
sorry, we have had a -19, but that was 1881. I remember it well.
So do I. Brooke doesn't.
So I look fondly back on that time.
She wasn't even born then. Anyway, let us know what the weather's like where you are, if you're having disruption
Have you
anywhere.
seen any snow?
Do you need to defrost the car? The actual driving conditions are treacherous, so do take care there. Anyway, up next, more on that. We will be checking in with Met Éireann as well as the rest of the day's stories making the news. See you for that in 3. You're very welcome back. Now we'll have a check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times, which goes with plan agreed to complete Children's Hospital by June. The paper writes that an updated programme of building works for the new National Children's Hospital has been agreed for the first time in almost 4 years, paving the way for the project to be completed this summer. The front page of the Irish Independent reads, fears families facing energy price hikes as cost of gas rises. An increase in European wholesale gas prices has stoked fears of higher residential electricity and gas bills here in Ireland. The Examiner leads with free HRT on hold despite pledge. The paper reports that the Department of Health has rolled back on a pledge to give free hormone replacement therapy to thousands of women from this week. Moving on to the tabloids now, the Mirror goes with we're done alert. Security at Donald Trump's golf resort in Doonbeg will be ramped up following the explosion outside one of his hotels. The Herald goes with contraband of brothers. More than 2,300 items were smuggled into Irish prisons in the first 10 months of last year, including drugs, phones and weapons. Both the Daily Mail and the Star leads with the same story. The Daily Mail going with warning as -10 Celsius Arctic blast to hit, while the Star's front page reads Arctic brass monkeys. Joining me now is Deirdre Lowe from Met Éireann to discuss more on that story there. Good morning, Deirdre. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're in for a fairly cold spell over the next coming days. So what should we expect at the weekend?
Well, for the weekend, we'll lose the crisp winter sunshine that we're going to enjoy today. It's going to get bitterly cold, and rain, sleet and snow is going to move up over the country. So we could get some significant snowfall over the weekend, later Saturday night into Sunday, particularly on high ground, but at some sea level as well, and some accumulations in places. So it's going to be bitterly cold, icy, rain, sleet and snow, and we're going to be issue warnings for that during the course of today. And the cold snap is going to stay with us next week. The rain, sleet and snow will clear away eastwards later on Sunday, but Monday's going to be bitterly cold, and quite brisk northerly winds on Monday will drive down further wintry showers, and the snow won't get a chance to melt. So there'll be treacherous driving conditions and several centimetres of snow in parts of the country, and the cold snap continuing through next week. We do get the coldest temperatures over snowfall, and that's when you see the very low temperatures of -9, -10 degrees over that snow cover. So very icy and some snowfall to come. Today, not too bad. So plenty of bright sunshine today, just a few wintry showers along northern and northwestern coasts. But temperatures got down to -5 degrees in Athenry last night, and we'll get sub-zero temperatures right across the country tonight again.
So there's talk of this Arctic blast. Can you explain what that is to our viewers?
Well, the air mass comes down from the Arctic, literally in northerly air mass, and it brings the crisp winter sunshine, the very clear air mass, but then the heat radiates out overnight under the clear skies. It gets very cold, and that's why we get more frost than fog. Even though we will get some freezing fog, it's mostly a frosty scenario. And then the warmer air is coming up from the southwest, and as it hits the colder air, it brings precipitation with it. And as the rain moves up from the south, the rain will turn to sleet and snow as it hits the colder air.
So when can we expect the end of this? Do we know yet?
It looks like it possibly will turn less cold later next week, but with several days of very cold weather to come. And as I say, more warnings will likely be issued over the coming days.
Thank you so much, Deirdre, for joining us on the show this morning. Now, joining me with the rest of the morning stories are political correspondent with the Irish Times, Jack Horgan-Jones, and assistant editor with the Irish Daily Mail, Linda Maher. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show this morning. And of course, it's freezing cold at the moment. We'll be ramping up the heating in our homes. But Jack, it looks like we could be in for a bit of bad news when it comes to our energy prices, if the paper's to be believed today.
Yeah, a story on the front of the Irish Independent reads a bit like something from 2021 when we first had this series of price shocks to the electricity and to the gas market. They're saying that due to a combination of events, but most principally down to the expiry of a deal between the warring nations of Russia and Ukraine, which allows Russian gas supplies to transit across Ukraine and onwards into the European markets, we could be looking at an increase in the wholesale cost of gas across Europe. Now, while we are to some extent, to a large extent, really insulated from the direct effects of Russian gas being turned off because we source our gas elsewhere, we know from past experience and bitter experience in this regard that the whole kind of market is interconnected. And when you get an uptick in one part of the European market when it comes to gas prices, it can eventually work its way down to the consumer level here. Now, whether exactly that is the case here and whether that's going to happen, I suppose, remains to be seen. But it's certainly not welcome as it comes, as we've just heard, at the same time as the first really serious cold snap in this winter fuel heating season.
Yeah, and I suppose that the levels still haven't come back to where they were before the series of price hikes in 21 as well. So even if the wholesale prices have dropped, the consumer prices didn't drop in tandem with them either yet. So, I mean, but they're very quick to jack them up again with any old excuse. That's the problem.
Well, that's the thing, is like we're about 70 to 80% up electricity on where we were 3 years ago. Gas has probably doubled in that same time. There's already the factor that the VAT rate of 9% on utility bills is going back up to 13.5% come May. There's a carbon tax hike coming in May. So they're already going to be going up guaranteed without any of this happening. And then it's the countries that are kind of closer that use that Russian gas. And they're, you know, it's going to affect them more, but then they're going to look elsewhere, which is how it hits into our supplies then.
Supply and demand, basically.
Exactly,
yeah. So it looks like maybe, I mean, it does seem inevitable it will affect us in some way, shape and form if another deal isn't hammered out.
Yeah, and definitely as it is, come May, we're going to be paying more anyway. So whatever happens with these things in Russia. So.
Yeah, so another story in the, do you know what, I believe this when I see it. I'm sorry. Not that it's like me to be cynical over plans for the Children's Hospital, Linda, but allegedly, it's going to be done by June.
It's impossible to talk about this story without kind of just laughing about it and just going like, who knows?
How can you laugh at this billion-dollar mess?
You know, apart from the fact it's run over time, apart from the fact the rows that have gone on, apart from the huge rise in the cost of it, other than that, it's gone quite smoothly. You know. So, but yeah, 10 years on. We will have it should be ready by June, but by the time it's staffed, it will be January next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's where do you even start with it? Like, okay, this is the first time we've had a concrete promise of a finish date. So let's take that and say, okay, this is brilliant to hear. You know, I only read Kevin Doyle's story the other day in The Independent about, you know, his stay in Temple Street with his daughter is, you know, knows that this is so badly needed right now. Like it is desperately, desperately needed. So, you know, having a concrete finish date is welcome. But do we believe it?
Yeah, Jack.
I unfortunately, I think we're all conditioned by past experience on this one. We'll believe it when we see it. You know, if you were to look at the optimistic side of the ledger, this is the first time since, I think, February of 2021 where you have the main contractor on the site, BAM, and the state body that's kind of charged with the delivery of the hospital on the same page and saying that there is at least a roadmap which all parties are agreed on, which notionally on paper gets us there by June of this year. Now, as Linda was saying, that doesn't mean that patients are going to be going into the new hospital building in June of this year. There's a whole fit out and commissioning and staffing up process that takes upwards of 6 months. So really we're looking still at this time next year, 2026, which is many, many years, 6 years behind the original completion date before the doors are actually properly and fully open. And you know, we've been down this road before in many ways, where we think we can see the light at the end of the tunnel and something new emerges, which knocks it back. But certainly, as we sit here this morning, we've been we have said this before. It looks like there is at least an agreement on a way forward.
Yeah.
But you know, there's many a slip between cup and lip when it comes to the National Children's Hospital.
Yeah, and I suppose if it does come to fruition eventually, which it must do at this point because so much money's been sunk into it, and that with it brings a whole new raft of problems for the whole location in terms of transport, in terms of accommodation. So, I mean, the whole project from start to finish just seems to be a bit of a, I won't say use the vernacular here, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think like the staffing is going to be a huge issue for them. There's already huge staffing problems across healthcare in this country. And as you say, the accommodation, parking, you know, all that kind of thing comes into it. And so I think they are going to have a lot of difficulty, and 6 months might be very optimistic to staff up an entire hospital.
But let's start the year on an optimistic note, why don't we? For once, I know that cynicism will be back with a bang by February. We'll keep it for that.
This time next year, we'll have a National Children's Hospital, okay?
Yay! We'll keep it with that. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show this morning. Now, after the break, we're getting your latest updates from the world of sports. See you for that in 3.
Yes, welcome back. Teenage dart sensation Luke Littler is on the brink of history after setting up a dream world final against Michael van Gerwen. Sports journalist Daniel Hussey is here with more on that and all the other sport making headlines today. Good morning to you and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to be back. It's freezing, Mark.
Yeah, it is perishing. Yeah. There might be a few cancellations going on the sporting calendar over the next few days. But we'll start, and this doesn't happen very often.
No.
The first topic we talk about is the darts.
Yeah, it's Christmas, man. So it's just the post-Christmas period, and it's a little known fact for most people outside the darts bubble that probably the first World Championship in all of sport in 2025 will be the darts World Champion. And we have such a storyline that I think will make front pages this time tomorrow if Luke Littler manages to get it done. He burst onto the scene at 16 last year, made the World Championship final, and you can see him there throwing a double to secure back-to-back World Finals. Some of the numbers he's putting up, to put into context, if he was 36, 37, we'd be talking how unbelievable this player is. He's 17.
17, yeah.
And he carries himself like, honestly, twice as old as that. It's just such a mature performance. He said he struggled with nerves early on in the early rounds, where now it seems he's found his groove. And the final he set up is with 3-time world champion Michael van Gerwen, who's been out of form-ish the last couple of years and has sort of found something this World Championship. So it's actually setting up for a brilliant game tonight, but you almost have the up-and-coming young player versus the original young player or heir to Phil Taylor's throne.
But I remember when Van Gerwen broke through, we thought, this guy's going to dominate this sport for a long time to come. And then he goes off the boil a little bit, and then this guy comes along. Now, last year's defeat for Littler, it seems to have done him a favour, because had he won it last year, you wonder how he would have reacted and responded to that win.
Because even for that, like, there's a Premier League of darts where they have the top eight players in darts, and people were saying don't put Luke Littler in this time last year because of the pressure, but he took that in the stride. He didn't actually qualify for all the majors, which I think helped him, like the Masters, so he was able to settle in, and he's just been playing week in, week out. A record amount of 9 darts. I think he's had 4. It's really helped him get that extra year under his belt, and you feel now if he does win the World Championships tomorrow, he'll be in a lot better place. He's got a huge management team behind him, and I don't think it's like, say, 10, 15 years ago in all sports where a young player bursts onto the scene and isn't quite looked after. I do think he has a strong, both his parents and other members of his team, there seems to be a good strong base there for him to perhaps perform. But as I said, the average is insane. 105 average tonight, so put into context, anything above 100 is incredible. So we will see that. But you mentioned Michael van Gerwen.
He's averaging 98,
yes.
So he's not that far.
He only needs to raise his level a game or two. I think there was one game this year in the quarterfinal. If he brings that tonight, he can really compete with Luke Littler. So it will be a fascinating game to watch. But Van Gerwen, it was a bit of like Littler got on well with Stephen Bunting and Nathan Aspel.
Yeah, you could see.
You could fist pumps.
Yeah.
There won't be any fist pumps tonight. Michael van Gerwen is, well, I'm going to beat you, and I don't care what age you are. You're a darts player standing in my way. So in that sense, we'll get a bit more aminosity on the hockey,
One thing that impressed me, because I watched the semi-finals last night because I knew we'd be talking about it today, was a 170 that Luke Littler produced, 2 treble 20s and a bullseye to secure a game in what turned out to be the final set. So this guy has the chops. Now, I know people are going to say that darts, they were once described as athletes. They don't quite have the shape of athletes, shall we say. But it takes a lot of skill to be able to produce those numbers.
Yeah, and even as I mentioned on the numbers wise, Luke Littler's what he's producing consistently in the World Championships above about 100 averages is almost unprecedented in terms. I know Phil Taylor went on runs like this back at his peak, but darts is so much more competitive, and he's been able to produce those numbers. And it takes an incredible amount of practice. It's also become so competitive, darts, over the last 5-10 years because of the money he produced. And in fairness to Barry Hearn, he's really brought that into the darts in terms of the walk. Like the best bits of it, the 2 walk-ons last night, for anyone who watched it back home or who wants to look at it tonight, I mean, it's incredible, the atmosphere in the Ali Pali. They could move it to a bigger venue, but they keep it in the Ali Pali like this crucible with snooker because of that enclosed space. So it's competitive. Darts is getting better and better, and more money's been put into it, therefore more competitive. But I think Littler will hopefully just about do it tonight, but I do expect Van Gerwen to basically, it'll be a better game and hopefully more competitive than the semi-finals were.
All right, let's move on. Yesterday, the fiercest football rivalry in the world took place in Glasgow, and we got a result that we weren't expecting.
No, Celtic 14 points clear going into the game. You'd struggle for anyone to fancy Rangers. Not that people expected Celtic to go into Ibrox, given that there's 0 Celtic fans, obviously, in Ibrox, and same in the return fixtures for away fans. And you expected Celtic to put in a performance of champions, and was definitely they picked a bad time to produce their worst of the season.
Look, I know the difference between the two teams in the table is 14 points, and Brendan Rodgers was saying this game in the lead up to it isn't a dead rubber. This is a huge rivalry, and both teams will want to win. But I think those 14 points did have an effect on the Celtic.
Because, it was the most shots they've conceded, I think, for about 10 or 11 years in the league. 24 shots to 3, the shot count was, or at least was, going into the 90th minute when eventually I turned it off because it was over as a contest. But it wasn't the result necessarily, or even the 3-0 scoreline. It was the performance from Celtic. You knew from minute 1.
They were off it.
And the commentators, they hadn't got to grips with it at all. And Liam Scales, who's had a fine season with Celtic, both domestically and European, was poor. I thought Schmeichel was poor for a lot of the goals. I thought the whole team was poor, to be honest. So Rodgers has got a reality check, because Celtic are still going strong in the Champions League, are going to qualify for the knockout stages of the Champions League for the first time in years. So it's been a 10 out of 10 season. They conceded 4 league goals before yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
And they should have conceded a lot more than 3. They did well to get out of there.
There were two shots that went against the bar. They did have a chance themselves. They had a goal disallowed. There was a questionable decision made just before half-time where we thought there should have been a sending off.
Yeah, exactly. And again, things like that could change the game. And it's not an Old Firm derby without yellow cards, loads of corners.
Yeah, Kuhn took a blow to the face. And blood was drawn from the blow that he took, but the referee just gave the Rangers defender a yellow instead of a red.
And decisions like that could turn a game. And I did feel during the game, you could feel that there was no away fans there at all. It was just all it was silences and stuff. And the Kyogo goal was marginal offside. That would have got it 1-1, to be fair. But overall, I don't think Celtic can have any complaints.
No, they can't. Rangers deserve the win, yes. Anyway, let's move on, because we are more or less at the halfway point in the Premier League. Liverpool and Everton, they have to play each other in with that game in hand that had to be postponed a few weeks ago because of the storm. But Santa is definitely wearing red, because the top 3 teams in the league.
It's a good spot. Where's the third team? I forgot about Nottingham Forest.
Nottingham Forest are there. So it's a real throwback to the 80s when you look at that top 3.
It's great. And look, just a word on Nottingham Forest. I mean, most people's predictions for in a relegation scrap / just above the relegation. And they've been brilliant, and he's built a bit of a team. I mean, people take the mick out of Chris Wood at times. I think his hat-trick, this time last year away to Newcastle, was almost his second coming, because since then he's been absolutely sensational. And Nuno's built a great team. On the title race, you couldn't have asked for a better start for Arne Slot. He's literally done a 10 out of 10 job in terms of taking all the good bits of Jurgen Klopp, but also managing to make them a little bit more conservative at times. They've still been very exciting to watch, don't get me wrong, but just, at times I've seen them, pass the ball around the back 4 for long periods.
I think a decent, if you're going to look back in history, if Jurgen Klopp was being Bill Shankly, Arne Slot is Bob Paisley.
Exactly.
And we know how successful Bob Paisley was when he took charge at Liverpool. So.
And it's almost like his parting gift to Liverpool. Like, Alex Ferguson went for that league bought Raven Van Persie, won the league and left Manchester United. Maybe it's harsh to say, but in ruins because they were an aging team. This is the opposite. Like you've got like 3 players they're trying to keep under contract are up there with 3 of the best players in the world, and Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah as well. And the longer they keep those 3 players, I know Trent will probably go, but keep them hungry and fight for a new contract at sea. Like it's almost like who blinks first, because I do feel there will be an inevitable lull when Salah signs his contract, because when you're playing for a contract, it's a human nature. Like you're going to be a lot more competitive then, and he's playing the best football I've seen him play in his 7 years at Liverpool, and that's saying something because he's been sensational for years, including when they won leagues. But it's a 10 out of 10 from Arne Slot. It's a big disappointment for Arsenal because the Premier League was there from given Manchester City's collapse, which we'll get to in a sec, and they haven't been able to take that opportunity. And now Bukayo Saka's injured, it's looking like it's too big a gap, 6 points with a game in hand.
So it's Liverpool for you.
Liverpool, and it's just amazing. City have collapsed. I mean, we have the court case that might be announced before the end of the season. That'll be fascinating stuff, but it's just been a mess from them since Rodri's injury. You know?
Okay, well, we're out of time.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
We look forward to the second half of the Premier
Looking
League
to
and to the World Final tonight. Cheers. Thanks so
Mark.
much. Okay. After the break, there's a big freeze on the way, so we've got an expert to get your car ready for the icy spell. We'll see you for that in a few minutes. Yes, welcome back. Met Éireann are predicting a week-long Siberian blitz with temperatures to plummet as low as -10 degrees.
And with roads set to be icy, mechanic Mick Green is here to cover everything from tyre safety to frosting those pesky windshields. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We've got you inside now.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was cold out there. It was cold out there. So hopefully we can get through a lot of the stuff just as easy as we could on the car.
Okay, can we talk about the stuff that we need to have? Now, we're going to talk about windscreens in a minute, but the stuff we need to have in our cars just in case things don't work out the way
so
they
just
should.
in case things don't work out. I mean, for example, a set of booster cables up there, right? Booster cables are very, very cheap. If you break down on the side of the road, or if your car doesn't start where you need to get it started, typically there's lots of people that will give you a jump start with their car. But normally they don't have booster cables. Just having a simple set of booster cables in the car can really get you out of a hole.
Oh, okay. Right? There's other like power packs that you can use too.
So there's power packs you can use. For example, that's a really, really small jump starters. In the past, you used to find that jump starters would be the size of a wheelbarrow, right? They would be massive. These things, they're nearly the size of a mobile phone, and once they're fully charged, they will easily start a 3-litre diesel car.
Wow.
It's incredible the power of these devices, and they're so small. So, I mean, the cost, there's a little bit of cost in those. They cost about 100 quid. But for the size of them, and really, you know, it's an extra sort of benefit. Having them in the car can get you out of a hole when necessary.
Okay, you're always going to need a blanket in your boot as well.
You're always going to.
Correct. You need things like that. You need blankets in your boot. You need to really prepare for the worst. Like any of these things, though, we say prepare for the worst, but the main thing is don't go out if you don't need to go out.
Okay.
That's the key with it. But have blankets in the boot, have plenty of liquids, have plenty of water in the car, all of those type of things. And particularly if you're traveling with kids. I mean, my kids will get into the car, they'll get in with a T-shirt on. You go, what if we break down, guys? You know, all of those things. Just make sure, warm jackets, all of those things.
Yeah, perfect. Now, let's chat about windscreens. We've got lots of stuff here to go through. Antifreeze.
Yeah, so antifreeze, I mean, a lot of cars we're selling these days are electric, so they don't need antifreeze as such, right? But most of the cars still on the road do need antifreeze for the cooling system. So just make sure that your car has antifreeze in the cooling system. Just double check your levels on your cooling system. Typically, they're not sealed units. Some cars, they're sealed units, but in lots of cars, they're not sealed units. Double check and make sure there's antifreeze in there. Water will freeze. Antifreeze just stops it from freezing. It just has a much, much lower freeze point.
Okay, and the stuff you can put into your windscreen washers as well.
Correct. The likes of the whole screen wash. And that's exactly it. And that's a screen wash. It's a soapy detergent type liquid, but it also has an antifreeze properties in it. So it will stop for a car, it will stop your water bottle from freezing. So when you get out to your car in the morning, sometimes you'll find that it's all frozen. That will stop that.
Okay.
We've got the standard ice scraper as well, which is good. Good to have.
You know, these things are, I mean, they're tiny little things. You find that people are out there all the time. They're out there with the credit cards and all sorts of things, breaking them. And you'll even find people with, I mean, I saw a video recently of someone with a shovel on the car trying to remove snow and things like that from it. So a simple little thing like that can stop your car getting scraped. And the cost literally from euro, anything from €1 upwards.
Oh, okay, but there are things that you can do where you won't need the likes of that.
There are, of course there are. But again, it comes down to cost as well. So for example, if you don't want something like that, you can have, for example, a defroster, right? This is an electric defroster that you can literally plug into your car and just turn it on for a few minutes to defrost your windscreen. Now, of course, it'll take a couple of minutes to get going. It's just, these things, and they're quite cheap units. They're anything from 15 quid. So it's not a big investment, but they can just do the job for you without you getting your hands cold and everything else, okay? And then you have, you have the likes of, for example, again, this is another one, right? It's a defroster unit, but it doubles as a hairdryer. So it's actually...
You weren't impressed.
I came with wet hair this morning.
So there are a lot of things you can do to, from the cheap up to a little bit more expensive, just to keep the frost off your car.
Okay, we see them when we're down on our holidays in the Mediterranean. You'll see them across windscreens to keep the sun out, but can also keep the frost off.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, as you said, in the continent, you see people with them all the time to keep the sun out. But you're absolutely right. Just simply putting them on the car with the fabric material against the windscreen, it stops the frost from forming. So you can pull that off in the morning. So again, it's. When a lot of us drive electric cars these days, and electric cars are becoming more prevalent. So a lot of these things you don't necessarily need. So for example, things like this will be automatic in electric cars. You've got automatic heat. You're not waiting for the engine to heat up. But all of these things, they're really, really cheap alternatives just to allow you to be able to get in your car and go very, very quickly in the morning.
Okay, tyres, they need to be the right depths. And if you're having trouble with snowy conditions, these lads, which were like gold dust during some of the more recent storms.
That's exactly right, yeah. But the number one thing is tyres, right? Tyres on your car are the most critical thing between you and the road. So you just need to make sure there's a minimum of 3 millimetres of depth on your tyres, right? You need to make sure that your tyres are good condition, that they have the right pressure. If they're not the right pressure, your car can break at different pressures on different sides, and that can literally throw you into a wobble on the road in particular. Just make sure that your tyres are in very, very good condition. Check your pressures. Go to any of the tyre guys. A lot of them will check your pressures for free. Just do that. It costs you little or nothing to do that, but it's critically important to have your tyres right.
Okay, but the old snow socks aren't bad either.
The snow socks are an amazing product. They really are. They're an amazing product. But again, they're designed for a decent bit of snow on the road. Once you have a decent bit of snow on the road, it's a fabric type material. It really can get you out of a hole. But it's like everything. You don't put this on and drive at 100 miles an hour.
Okay, we're almost done. Check your car. Check to see if your car has ABS as well.
Check correct. Well, most new cars have ABS, right? Most new cars, all new cars, in fact, have ABS. But a lot of older cars don't have ABS. And ABS is a really, really powerful safety mechanism. Literally, your car, it doesn't lock the wheel at all. When you press on the brake, you think the car is locking the wheels up. It's not. It's stopping it, releasing it, stopping it, releasing it. In older cars, you just need to mimic that sort of movement. If you slam on the brakes in your older car, you're going to go off the road, if you're particularly on a turn. So you literally have to hit the brakes, you have to pulse the brakes as the ABS would do it.
Okay.
It's very important.
Yeah.
I have an older car. I do not have ABS.
Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes if you go into a skid.
Thank you so much
Mick,
for coming.
great to see you.
welcome.
Great.
Okay, we need to stay safe on the road, but as Mick said, you only make the journey if you absolutely have to. Right, we're going to take a quick break, but there's lots more coming up after 9. Former tennis pro Conor Niland will be swinging into studio.
We've got some hot tips on dating in 2025, plus Derek will be having a go at Pilates.
Ireland AM is back in just a few minutes.
Now have another check on your morning paper, starting with the Irish Times, which goes with plan agreed to complete Children's Hospital by June. The paper writes that an updated programme of building works for the new National Children's Hospital has been agreed for the first time in almost 4 years, paving the way for the project to be completed this summer.
Front page of the Irish Independent reads, fears families facing energy price hikes as cost of gas rises. An increase in European wholesale gas prices has stoked fears of higher residential electricity and gas bills here in Ireland.
The Examiner leads with free HRT on hold despite pledge. The paper reports that the Department of Health has rolled back on a pledge to give free hormone replacement therapy to thousands of women from this week.
Onto the tabloids, and the Mirror goes with "We're Don alert." Security at Donald Trump's golf resort in Doonbeg will be ramped up following the explosion outside one of his hotels.
The Herald goes with contraband of brothers. More than 2,300 items were smuggled into Irish prisons in the first 10 months of last year, including drugs, phones and weapons.
But the Daily Mail and the Star lead with the same story. The Daily Mail going with warning as -10 Celsius Arctic blast to hit, while the Star's front page says Arctic brass monkeys.
Now, lots of you have been getting in touch with your winter memories, and it's really, really something I look back on. What was it, 2018? I think our bus didn't come and I got off school.
For God's sake, our school bus didn't come.
Stop.
Probably not far wrong.
Stop. It was a great day.
Back in the olden days.
Back in my day when the bus didn't come.
Yeah.
No, so Kim has got in touch and she said, as much as I don't like driving on an icy road, there is nothing I want more than a garden full of snow. There's no better sight in my eyes.
Yeah, but when you're on the inside looking out, it's not so bad. But when you're out there, not so pleasant, especially when the snow turns to slush.
Oh, that's the worst part.
Oh, and it's dirty. And you know, if you slip and fall and everything just gets soaked into you, and oh my God.
Yeah, the snow fine, slush not so fine.
Yeah. And Pete, I remember this. Peter says, after the beast from the east, I bought a full ski suit. I haven't got much use of it in the year since, but after that, I need to be prepared for everything. But you remember going down the middle aisle in one of the two German supermarkets, and then the ski suits were everywhere. It's like everyone's like, quick, grab one. We're going to be absolutely frozen for ages. Oh.
Just tie two tennis rackets to your shoes and just walk through the snow that way.
Could you imagine?
Have you ever done that?
I could nearly imagine you doing that.
I would do that if I had to.
Don't give Derek ideas, God almighty.
Well, Frank says, and I remember this as well, I remember the big snow in 1982. There was nothing like it. The whole country came to a complete standstill. I still remember having to walk on the wall because the snow was that deep. You'd be swallowed by it if you stepped into it.
Is there still a thing as snow days in school? I mean, with
I think,
online classes now since COVID, if they can't come in, or do they just log in online?
There's school kids shouting at the TV saying, Elaine, don't put those ideas back into teachers' heads, please.
Sorry.
Yeah. They could do with a snow day, and they would love.
Remember the joy of a snow day going,
They
woohoo!
would love if this Monday was a snow day.
I did live opposite the school, though, in primary school.
I
My
had
dad
no
was the
excuse.
headmaster, so I could always waddle across.
Yeah.
Unless the whole place was closed.
We got 2 snow days, I remember it. Our bus came at 8:30 in the morning, and if it wasn't there by 8:45, we would go home, but Mummy would drive us there. She would take us. She goes, I'm not sitting with yous in the house. You're going to school.
Yeah.
But
just to get rid of you.
legally, we could have went home. Apparently, that was the rumor. I actually don't know if that was true or not.
Yeah, there was no way she was going to put up with the whole
No
lot of you for a
chance.
day.
No,
No. Even if the school wasn't open, she was dropping you out.
We were getting
See you
in somehow.
3. Bye.
Bye.
Have you got your lunch? It'll be grand.
Not at all.
Read your book. Sit in the steps and read your book. You'll be fine.
Deirdre said, we've had snow. We've had some snow since my grandson was born nearly 5 years ago, but never enough to build a snowman with him. Let's hope this year is the year. I hope that it is for you, Deirdre.
Okay, we will wait and see.
And that
But
it goes really quickly
I
after.
remember that snow of 1982, buses were just abandoned because the snow got so deep and so heavy that buses were abandoned
Really?
and just left on roads, yeah.
Really?
And children were born in cars on the side of the road because they couldn't get to hospitals. That snowstorm of 1982. And I'm sure that we will hear in the coming weeks people celebrating their 43rd birthdays who were born in cars.
Well, if you were born in the snowstorm of 1982,
Yeah, get in touch with us. We'd wish you a happy birthday at least.
0896 111 111. Look at me remembering the number again.
See?
Ooh, it's a miracle. It's a New Year's miracle.
After the break, have you ever been Tinder swindled?
Sounds like a singer, doesn't it?
It does. Oh, we're so giddy this morning. Now, our panel will be discussing the perils of online dating after this.
You're very welcome back. Now, for many people, a new year means a new boo. But last year, 1.4 million people swapped dating apps in favour of old-school offline dating tactics in the UK alone.
And here to discuss the realities of modern singledom with relationship coach Annie Lavin, comedian Coleman Hayes, and podcaster Brenda Dennehy. Good morning, guys.
Morning.
delightful topic to start the new year, because it is cuffing season, in fairness. It's chilly. We need a boot to snuggle up to on the couch. Not everyone has it. So online, offline, it is changing ever so slightly, isn't it, Annie? But people are kind of veering away from the online dating apps.
They are. People have become fatigued with the whole dating, the swiping thing. Well, actually, the not dating, but lots of swiping. That's the thing that I think is the trend is telling us people are becoming tired of that, because it's not exactly what they signed up for. They signed up, for most people, to meet somebody. And when that's not happening, they're changing tactic and they're wondering what they can do instead.
Is it kind of almost like fast fashion? It's like fast dating, fast people. I don't mean it that way, literally. But it's just, there's too much. It's too commodified. We're being overwhelmed with the volume of this.
Absolutely. The paradox of choice is that we start to swipe, we think we've got so many opportunities, but in actual fact, there isn't as much meaningful connection as we really need when it comes to something like love. You know, it's not really, love isn't this commodity, but we've kind of made it that through the idea of the apps, really.
Yeah. Now, Brenda, you've recently deleted all of your apps.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
I even deleted the account. Well, actually, I got my friend did it for me. She told me she met a priest in a temple in London, and he told her, your friend's going to meet no one on the apps, and she deleted them for me.
So you specific friend, or she said it must be you the priest is talking about?
Yeah, priest is she went to the temple for me.
She went to go and ask the priest for you.
Yeah, and she went to the temple, honest to God, and she goes, I'm sorry, you're not going to meet anyone on those apps. She deleted it. This was coming back from a trip from Barcelona in August. And then the other night, New Year's Eve, I wasn't lonely or anything at home. I relapsed and I downloaded them all again.
You relapsed?
I relapsed on them,
already.
Yeah, but she now took that opportunity away from you. Did you ever have any luck before that?
Well, you see, short term, really. Like, they're hard going, as Elaine was saying, you know. So it's all, and Annie was saying as well, it's all these swiping and fast. It's like fast fashion.
Yeah.
And then you get a match and you get the dopamine hit, and then there's loads onto you, and then you're like, oh, I couldn't be arsed now. Why is he onto me here now, again annoying me? So, yeah.
Coleman, perhaps you could answer that from the male perspective on this. Dated online and offline, which is your preference?
I suppose offline is actually my preference, because I feel like, you know, as you were all saying, you match with someone, you don't really give anyone an opportunity, no one gives you an opportunity. At least when it's offline, you get a chance to see if you actually kind of get on and if you vibe. But I did meet someone online recently, so I also can't critique it too much.
Are we kind of going, ooh?
A little bit, yes. So it's going...
There's hope for everyone, really. So. I didn't mean that the way it sounded. But I thought online, like online
you have
dating...
it, Coleman, everyone could get it.
No, but it is very difficult, in fairness. I mean, because the choice is there. And then, when you meet somebody, what way does it work? You chat for ages and then you meet in person. And would you give someone a second chance, Coleman, if the first date didn't go well, or is it just immediately woo?
I think it depends. It's a case-by-case basis. I know the person that I'm like seeing now, and things are going like ridiculously well. And
Sorry. I'm glad to hear that.
But like I think we matched and we set a date within, I think, 4 or 5 messages. It just so happened.
Yeah.
And then we didn't talk again until the date. And I don't it's weird. I couldn't have told you from the matching or from the conversation beforehand that we were going, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like,
nearly.
Yeah. And it's only when you meet up, you're like, oh, fuck. I mean,
we do apologise for the use of this expression, but it's okay. We forgive you this time.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh dear, you meant to say.
Oh dear, we get on really well.
Yeah.
Isn't this cool?
Yeah.
My mother will be ashamed of me.
No, she'll be fine.
She'll kill you.
Yeah.
Letting the Cork people down, Jeannie Macaroni, going, what are you going to do with it? But in fairness, it shows how excited you were about the whole thing, because you weren't expecting to find what could be true love.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no, it's been going like ridiculously well. But it is tough online. I mean, like I do comedy. We even set up like a singles comedy night, because it's like just a way to meet people, like kind of almost without the pressure of like, come to a gig, you might meet some people, but because online can be intimidating, and I think you just lose momentum after online for a while.
Yeah. Annie, do you think that we are ready as a society to go back to traditional ways?
It's been such a long time since we have done that, that people almost need to upskill in terms of being able to approach people. And for men, it's like they almost need to overcome the idea that they're being a little bit of a creep for just actually having a conversation with a woman. Am I right? I hear this. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a concern.
Like, it's a strange thing, really, to imagine that we've come to that place because we're a nation of chatters and having a laugh on a night out, or at least that's how I remember it. But it has changed the landscape of just social interactions, the natural way we did it.
I blame the demise of the slow set for a lot of this. You probably don't even know what a slow set is, do you? Oh, God.
I remember.
But you know, you have a disco. Got a disco show, but disco, and then the slow dance came on, and then you dance and you shuffle around the place and have a chat.
Yeah.
But there's no shuffling around the place anymore and having a chat.
I would love that.
Wouldn't it be lovely? It's quite romantic.
Really romantic.
But there's no such thing as that anymore. So it is quite technologically advanced. So with your smartphone comes everything else. I mean, but trying to flip it around to the conversation, as you said, kind of people think you're a creep if you chat somebody up. Like if someone comes up to you and asks for your number or asks you out for a drink one, you think you'd go and look around and see where the men in white coats were nearly, like what's after happening, because it's so unusual these days.
I know, but it would be lovely if we could bring that back as a natural thing, even just the idea of having a conversation in a coffee shop, just that idea of people kind of putting down their smartphones and seeing that there's other people around them to have conversations with. I think the dating apps have kind of led us to be a little bit impersonal and to lose sight of the fact that we're dealing with other human beings.
Yeah.
Do you know anybody that does want that to happen? Go to the country dances. I'm telling you, that's where you'll get it. I went with my dad and a man came over and said, "Sorry, sir, can I take your daughter for a dance?"
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it was. I was so flattering.
See, but that's it, the old-fashioned tradition of it. Would you be tempted to go down that route now?
Oh, yeah. I often go into a bar near me at home and I might just go in, because someone said to me, like, if you go into a bar on your own, like every so often, then someone might come up and ask you out. So I've done that, and I actually had someone asked me out in the Tube there not so long ago.
On the Tube?
Tube in London, yeah.
Oh. I don't know, the Tube would put me off a wee bit, I think.
Well, he was a nice looking chap, so like,
good.
you know,
How did it go? Did you meet him?
Did you?
And?
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Oh.
That's not a definite no.
This is great.
Well, I actually randomly as well going to Dublin Airport. It's all random scenarios. Last year, there was four of us. The bus wasn't coming in. Four of us ended up getting a taxi to Dublin Airport. And one of the fellas in the cab after, because we swapped numbers because I'd give him money for paying for the cab, and he asked me out as well. So it's all really random scenarios. It's never really in on a nightclub or anything like that, but it's random scenarios. I like that.
So when it comes to the apps, you admitted before we came in here you've had a bit of a relapse.
Yeah, relapse, yeah. Back on him. I'm back on him.
Tell us about that.
Well, so what happens on New Year's Eve, and it wasn't out of loneliness or anything like that. I said, you know what, I'll re-upload my profile, new pictures and everything, and recent pictures, because some of the pictures you're seeing you're like, come on, man, that's 6 years ago. I went back on them now yesterday in Ireland, because just to see who's back on it. I was like, your man here, that photo's like 10 years old. So all mine were fresh. But which is important, because they ask you, do you, like a lot of men ask, do you look like this now?
Do they ask that?
Yeah.
And sometimes they look like a foot, for God's sake.
Come
What are
here
they
now.
talking
The
about?
lying about the height, don't get me started on that. The one fella told me he was 6 foot, he was no more than 5'2". And I'm not going to say I'm 6 foot, I'm 5'6". You know, I felt like going, 6 foot when I was uploading it again, because I was like, they're all lying to me about their height.
Yeah.
And it's not just height, but it's other things that might be lying about. Yeah. But yeah.
I wonder, Coleman, did you ever lie about your height or anything else?
No, but I am 6 foot. No, I never lied about my height. But so I never had to. But like I never had to worry about. I'm blessed and have to worry about that, because I know some guys are very self-conscious about that. So I don't know why they lie though, because then some of them are like, they're going to find out.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the thing.
Unless you're... But maybe I think they think like, if I just get them to that first date,
win them over.
Yeah, I can take care of every other problem after that.
Eternal optimism, Annie.
Eternal optimism.
Yeah, really. So for any singletons who are looking forward to cuffing season, any last-minute advice for them?
Do the work on the inside. Don't just solely look at where can I meet somebody in the external world. Do what is needed on the inside to be ready for love.
It won't fill that void.
No.
Self-love.
No.
And neither will chocolate or wine. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us this morning on the show. Some sage words of advice there. Do the work on yourself. Now, we want to hear all about your online dating experiences, so be sure to send them on WhatsApp 0896 111 111.
Up next, nothing says New Year like a homemade protein bar. We're making healthy snacks for Elaine so she can get them dancing boots on this weekend. See you in a few.
Oh, God. All right, welcome back to Ireland AM. The new year is here, and for many of us, getting into tip-top shape
is high in the priority list.
Yep, that's right. And here's to show us how to make the perfect healthy sweet treat is Carlos Mayer from Nut Butter. Good morning.
Thanks for having me and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. And listen, we're very impressed with what you've produced so far. I haven't sampled it yet.
No, not yet, no.
No. Okay,
So
what are we making?
What we're making today is a nutrient-dense protein bar. So
Okay.
we won't use any protein powder. So the protein is coming from the seeds, oats, and peanut butter.
Okay.
So that piece that you have in there is more or less 100 grams, and it has 13 grams of protein. So the idea is that the seeds and the oils from the nuts and the seeds, it will keep you kind of full, so you won't snack as much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I like the sound of this.
I love protein.
So I'm going to start quickly. It's just regular oats. So this will be enough for about 30 of the bars. So if you're making it at home, it'll be enough for your family or for a week or more.
Okay. And these will last for how long? You could store them in the fridge for...
If you store them in the fridge, I say they last for at least a week.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Just keep them close so they don't dry up.
Okay. All right.
So we have cranberries, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds that you can break them a bit so they hydrate a bit more.
Okay.
So if you break them in pieces. So first you mix the dry, and then we have maple syrup will be our sweetener. So we try to avoid sugars like refined sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Natural sugars.
Yeah.
And it goes, that's a good chunk of maple syrup.
That's about 400 ml.
Okay.
So this will be enough. So I say you have in there probably the equivalent of 4 grams of sugar. So it's not as sugary as you think.
Oh.
And then we add the peanut butter, and here is where it gets sticky. So because you have to mix it by hand.
Oh.
Unless you have one of those KitchenAids where you can actually mix it.
Yeah.
That could be quite fun for kids to get involved as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And over the next few days, if the snow arrives as we're expecting it to, you might be looking for things to do at home with the kids. Yeah.
This is a nice snack alternative for people who their pocket got hurt during Christmas and you're trying to save some money.
Yeah.
Also, it provides so many nutrients. Like when I do the research, when I create in a dish, the impact that this has on the heart is so positive.
Oh, wow.
Oh, right. Okay. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
So if you have like heart problems, this will benefit you a lot. So once you have all that properly mixed, you just throw it in a tray, compact it very well, and then leave it in the fridge for 24 hours, and then it will look like that. So it will become more solid. The oats will hydrate, the seeds will hydrate a bit from the sweetener and from the peanut butter, and it will just taste delicious. So if you guys go ahead and try it and let me know what you think.
You have to give it a go. Oh, the texture of it is lovely.
Oh,
yeah.
That's amazing. The good thing about protein bars is they keep you fuller for longer.
Yeah.
Stop you grabbing more.
So I added a bit of water just to hydrate it a bit more and facilitate the mixing part. Like, this is so fun. Like, you make it, like I make it personally at home on Mondays when I'm off. And then I keep them in the fridge for a week. So if I'm going to the gym or if I'm doing something, sports or going out, I'll have one with me all the time.
Could anybody add something to it?
Yeah, you could add, I don't know, almond butter or any other seeds if you want. You can add nuts.
Chocolate.
Yeah, you can add even chocolate on top. Of course, it'll be delicious.
Oh, wow. It is delicious.
Yeah, you can spoil it as much as you want.
Spoil it. No, you're right. This is the
This is
the
delicious.
goodness. So lovely.
And it's so
really
simple.
chewy as well, so, you know, good taste. I can really get the peanut butter.
So you have your tray, and then it's just put it in there and compact it very well. That will avoid the pieces breaking into small tiny pieces if you are transporting it to your workplace or if you want to share with some friends.
So you press it down, and how long do you put it into the fridge or?
Fridge, yeah. I say 24 hours will be enough.
Yeah.
So you can cover it with one of those grease papers. Then the idea is that it gets evenly spread. And then once this is all ready, it doesn't have to be perfect, but The idea is that it becomes a square like that. So at home you can use a pin roller or something like that. So just to compact it very well.
So there's no cooking, there's no baking.
There is no baking, no cooking, nothing. No oils, free from preservative, free from any of those chemicals that they add in our food nowadays. So
yeah,
it's just.
And there's no need for protein powder because, like you said, there's 13% protein in this as it stands.
Like 100 grams of peanut butter will give you 22 grams of protein, for instance. So also the sunflower seeds and the pumpkin seeds, they're also rich in proteins, yeah.
Okay.
I love peanut butter. That was delicious. Thank you so much for coming in this morning.
Good to see you, Carlos, and Happy New Year.
And once you have it like that, just wrap it in cling film, put it in the fridge.
Okay. Does the cling film keep the moisture in?
Yeah.
Say 24 hours later, you're good to go.
Now, for more from Carlos, you can pop into your nearest nut butter at Dublin's Grand Canal Dock or Smithfield, and you can tell them that we sent you.
They might bar you, but...
No.
Up next, we're learning all about smart saving in the new year. We'll see you for that in a minute.
Yum.
You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. Every year, saving more, paying down debt and spending less top our New Year's resolutions.
But it's easier said than done. So here with some top financial tips is Jerry Fowle from Castleview Financial Services. Happy New Year to you, Jerry.
Thank you so much
Happy
for
New
joining
Year,
us.
guys. Good to see you both again.
And good to see you. People facing a lot of financial pressures when January comes calling. So what are generally the financial stresses that they're facing into?
Yeah, Martin. So we've probably overeaten. Well, for me, I surely have anyway. And we've probably overspent. And we definitely have as well. Now, that's the run into Christmas. And most of us are the same every year. So January is a really good time to take stock of the year ahead, maybe the overspend, and how we might be able to save in the year ahead, right? And it's a really good time this year, actually, because just this week, you'll start to notice a little bit of more money in your pockets from some of the tax savings that we've seen in Budget 2025, which come into effect as of the 1st of January. So when you next get paid, you should notice a slight improvement in your pay packet. And what I mean by that, Elaine,
I'm just saying that when
as
you
she
next
raises
get paid,
her eyebrows at me.
People are paid like in the middle of December to last till the 92nd of January, basically, because it's the longest
Maybe the
period.
91st. But so with the movement in the USC, so the reduction from 4% to 3% in that USC band, and the increase in the standard rate threshold from 42 to 44,000, we're going to see modest improvements. So that's a good starting point for January, but also it's a good point in time to begin to clear the cobwebs in the head and kind of say, okay, let's make a plan. So what are you planning for? Why are you planning to save? Is it towards your mortgage, when we were talking about mortgages before? Is it maybe to purchase a car or whatever it might be? Or is it to help children with education? So there's all sorts of reasons why we plan to save. And so how do we do that? So one of the key simple starting points is to look at the metrics, right?
Okay, explain yourself now, sir. What's metrics?
A metrics really simply is if we take it on the basis of the 50-30-20 rule. It's been around for quite a few years now, right? So if we look at our net income on a monthly basis, 50% roughly are on needs, the stuff I need to pay. So my mortgage or my rent or my life assurance, etc. And food, obviously. Yeah. The wants are the discretionary spend, so eating out, coffees, the gym, that kind of discretionary spend. And then, so needs, wants and savings, the 20% is on savings. So depending on what you're doing. So this is about discipline.
What are you looking at me like that for?
And persistency. And that's what we're looking for.
Do you include pensions in that 20% saving, or is it just like out? Okay, that's
yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So we save for different reasons at various points in our life. So if we're beginning to start out as, say, a young person in their mid-late 20s or a young couple, maybe it's the mortgage that we're looking for. So, and then that's the key piece about understanding what the rules are. What am I aiming for? What are the rules? And what am I entitled to? So, for instance, with a young couple or an individual looking to get on the property ladder, it's, okay, what's the price of the property? What do I need to save between now and when I want to purchase that property? And what am I entitled to? And what are the rules around making sure I secure that mortgage? And so a starting point might be understanding the rules, for instance, 4 times salary. So what's my salary? So, and if we're a couple on the average salary of about 50,000 a year, it's jointly assessed. So 4 times that. So that gives you a ballpark of about 400,000, which is about the average cost of a house price.
You're very lucky.
Yeah, nationally I'm talking about, not really within the Dublin area.
9% just last year as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so then if it's 400,000, well then I as a part of a couple need to have a 10% deposit towards the cost of that by the time I get there, whenever that will be.
Yeah, I know. But if you are looking to get on the property ladder and both of you are first-time buyers, there are a variety of grants you can apply for to help you get to where you want to be.
Correct. So, and it's not as daunting necessarily if we take that example of 400,000 property. It's not as daunting as trying to figure out how am I going to save 40,000 over the next 12, 18, 24 months. That's not really realistic. So it's, like you say, Martin, absolutely. It's understanding what I might be entitled to. So the Help to Buy scheme through revenue is simply a way of getting your tax back that you've paid over the last 4 years up to 30,000. So if you're a young couple, for instance, in that example, and they will most likely have paid up to 30,000 in tax over the last 4 years, they can claim that back towards the deposit on their home. So the target will be in or around 10 or 12,000 to save over the next 12 to 18 months. So it's about being disciplined and being persistent when it comes to understanding what your target is and how you're going to get there, and maybe cutting out or reducing some of that discretionary spend.
Which I know you're looking at me discipline, but discipline is necessary as well to save for any major purchase, be it a car, be it a house, be it everything else, because the days of borrowing everything and the 100% mortgages, etc., they're well gone now. So you have to show that you have a record of sort of fiscal stability.
You do? Well, absolutely. I'm one of, in my simple head, one of the simple metrics to increase wealth is to reduce debt as quickly as possible.
So are you better off paying off a debt or saving up? Because I know sometimes people will say, right, I'll save 200 quid a month and I'll pay off 200 quid a month. Are you better off putting the 400 quid into the debt every month and just clearing that off quicker?
So we're talking about metrics a few minutes ago, and most often when we look at personal financial planning, it's not always binary. In this instance, in my opinion, it is. You are most definitely, almost invariably, always better off using that extra money to reduce your debt. And then you can save further then as you get a little bit older, and maybe save through a pension plan as you get a little bit older. Because if we take it that the mortgage interest rate, let's say it's 3.95, 4%, right? The mortgage rate is. What are we going to get a return on our savings? So it's not going to be 4%.
Nowhere near.
If it's going to be 4%, Elaine, we're going to have to take capital risk. We run the risk of losing some or part of our money. And if we make gains, we pay tax at an exorbitant gain.
On pay off your debt, basically.
So pay off your debt.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Call a spade a spade.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
So get rid of that. A means to do that might be taking a look at your tax return, because the amount of people who are overpaying, whether it's the universal social charge or just generally on other tax returns, and aren't aware of it.
Yeah, and January is a great time, Martin, to be looking at that, right? Because often so many of us leave it until the tax return deadline, which is end of October or middle of November when we do the revenue online return. But you can do it now, so you can take a look at it now. And the two biggest ones, the simplest ones to look at, are medical expenses, and you can go back over the last 4 years, make sure you do.
That's a great one, actually.
It's a really simple one. Now, back in the day, it used to be 40% tax relief. It's just 20% tax relief, but it's still, you're getting 20% relief. It's your 20%. Get that money back from revenue. And revenue will regularly tell us that lots of people haven't claimed their money back. So make sure you do. And the other one is the renter's tax credit. So, and that's another one that's often forgotten about by lots of people watching and listening today, particularly mummies and daddies who have young boys and girls at university or at college. And if all things being equal and they're paying that rent for them, they can claim that back.
Or as Elaine was talking about pension, you're entitled to some of that back too.
You surely are. And so the more you earn, the more you pay. But the more you earn, the more you pay, the more you can claim back as well.
Yeah.
So if you're a 40% tax payer, you can, and you contribute into a pension in a private capacity, you can claim up to 40% tax relief on those contributions. So 10 grand a year into a pension. Yeah, so you have that revenue online deadline is a busy period for people who deal with pensions, such as myself, because you want to make sure you get your contributions in on time so you can get your tax relief for the previous year.
I think you're trying to make the point, if you paid 10 grand into a pension, there's 4 grand coming back to you.
Correct.
What?
Yes.
That is
This is great.
That's a nice start to a year.
It is, and there's a couple of other quick little tips. If your employer has an SAYE scheme, Save As You Earn scheme, because most of us are the same, guys. Yeah. It's really hard to be disciplined, and it's easy for me to sit here on the couch and say,
do that, basically.
Well, just do that, because they're, it's coming out of your pay, so you're not actually getting it into your bank account first, so you're not having to make a call.
So you don't have to look at it.
You don't have to look at it, and it's already looked after for you. And particularly if you're getting a pay rise this year, hopefully most people will be, maybe squirrel that away for the next 3 years.
Jerry, it's great to see you.
Thank you very much. You made things very clear.
And bringing good news for so many.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Jerry.
There's lots still to come this morning. Former tennis ace Conor Niland will be stopping by.
Plus, Derek's limbering up for a Pilates class. See you back here in 3.
The pair of these are getting very emotional the last few minutes reading through some of your texts.
They're so sweet.
They really,
I know. I was like
classy-eyed too.
Brooke, they're not that soppy, surely. And I read them and
yeah.
Well, there is such a thing as love in the world.
There is. Let's start with a negative one, shall we?
Go on then.
Emer said, I hate dating apps as much as the next person, but at my age, the only people you meet are friends of friends, and once you get enough of them, they stop inviting you out.
Wow.
Oh, no, I know this one is from Jamie, and you need to listen to this because it's so sweet. Brace yourself. Brace yourself. Jamie says, I met this girl not too long ago. Every day I like her more than the last. The only issue is that I become a nervous wreck every time that I'm next to her. I want to tell her how I feel, but the words always escape me. I don't know what to say, or even if I would if I did. But I guess confessing on national TV is a good step.
Oh.
She's gone.
God, no, it's just so nice. It's so lovely. Stop it. Get away.
It gets worse. It gets worse. Will we make her cry? Right.
No, please don't. It's actually happening.
This is another one. I'm a 68-year-old Cork woman, and I recently met a nice guy, a 74-year-old gent, on Plenty of Fish. Please, for the love of God, don't let it snow. He's coming to visit me in Cork this week. Sorry I couldn't give you my name because the neighbours are watching. That's so sweet.
That's so
Come
sweet.
on, let's keep the snow away from Cork.
gosh.
Look, hang on a minute. Can I just go back to Jamie?
Yeah.
Would either of you got advice from?
What?
Jamie, who doesn't know, he gets all nervous when he's near this girl.
Just go for it.
Honestly.
Just go for it.
Oh, like, you can't, I just feel like it can never be that one-sided.
Yeah.
You're feeling something, I'm looking directly at Jamie right now. You're feeling something, she's obviously feeling positively, or she wouldn't be seeing you or talking to you. Just try. Has it been long enough though? What's the limit, but like for a length of time to say like I
well,
really,
if they've had 2 dates, like don't be professing online
No, 2 dates
lower
is-
to 2 dates because you scare the Jesus out of somebody.
I'd say 5, 6.
5, 6, yeah.
5, 6,
Yeah.
you're free. Go for
Yeah,
it. Free.
go for it, yeah.
Good luck to you, Jamie, and let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know what the reply is.
And I want that 68-year-old Cork woman to let us know next weekend if she hadn't dated as well.
keep the
This
snow
is
away
good.
from Cork,
Yeah. I know.
so that love can happen in the south.
There's a couple of grim
This
ones
one-
as well, to
no,
be honest.
No more grim ones. I want to do this one too.
Okay.
No more sad ones. Tracy says, I feel bad for the younger generation. I know some of my nieces and nephews met their partners on dating apps, but I could never. There's just no romance to it. My husband approached me and Akili, danced me around as best he could, and made me feel
Made
me feel beautiful.
Here.
Oh, it's just, I love love. I just do. I can't help it.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, it's so nice.
Poor old Emer says, I hate dating apps as much as the next person, but at my age, the only people you meet are friends of friends.
Oh, yeah.
And once you get with enough of them, they stop inviting you out.
But this the one. This the one.
Shallow.
Because you were talking about how people lie.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily lie, but exaggerate.
About their height. Men,
Yeah.
And that's the major thing that men lie about on dating apps is their height.
Dan says, lads, take it from me, never lie about your height. Just wear insoles. 8 years later, and she's none the wiser. They wear heels. Why can't I? Why can't he?
I'm just going to say it. I love short kings.
Why?
I just love it. I think it's great.
When was the last time you dated someone shorter than you? Shorter than you?
Oh.
See, I don't mean like generally short. I mean shorter than you as a person in stature. Like, what height are you?
With heels on, yeah.
No, I'm not. No, not heels. Just you flapping around the place.
Well, never.
See,
not yet. Not
see,
yet.
there you go.
No,
I
I'm hanging
love
out.
short
I'm
kings.
hanging out.
Well, clearly you don't. Clearly
Anyone
you don't.
that's 5'4" or 5'3". I mean, no, stop.
You'd be going out with Lord
You
Farquhar.
know what? You need to get a hat ready and I need to get a suit ready because you never know. We could be going to a wedding.
These are bad.
You never know. You never know.
Right.
Anyway, please let us know how your love life is. Did you meet on a dating app or were you whirled around the dance floor and made to feel beautiful? 089 611 111.
God, that's made me nervous now. Speaking of her whirling around the dance floor, thanks. Right.
I'm going to support her on Sunday.
All right. Up next, in a career filled with blood, sweat and tears, we find out the nitty-gritty of professional tennis.
Former pro Conor Niland will be here to tell us all. See you for that in 3. You're very welcome back. Our next guest is one of Ireland's greatest tennis players who has played with the likes of Novak Djokovic and Serena Williams and also competed at Wimbledon and the US Open.
He also recently won the William Hill Sports Book of the Year award, becoming just the 3rd ever Irish person to win the prestigious award in its 36-year history. Please welcome author of The Racket, Conor Niland. Good to see you, Conor.
Hi guys, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Winning this is a massive award to win.
Yeah, it is. It's a big one, and I got a bigger trophy than that. I couldn't bring it home.
This is the one you're allowed.
That's my
to have.
replica. Yeah. So no, it was an amazing day in London, and I was in the final 6, and well, there was a long list of 20 names, and then it gets whittled down to 6 names, and you're brought to a lunch in London, and went over the night before, so I didn't miss any flights and an early start, and they called out my name, and to join the likes of Fever Pitch by Nick Hornby and Seabiscuit, and some amazing titles have won this, and obviously Paul Kimmage Rough Ride back in 1990. So so happy, and Gavin Cooney, who I co-wrote the book with, was over there with me, and my mum and my wife Sheena, so it was an amazing day.
Yeah, a very emotional day though.
Yeah, it was. Look, this book is about pro tennis, but a lot of it is about my family and my dad, and that's partly why I brought my mum along, and she was emotional when I won it. So it was lovely to be able to celebrate it with them.
Yeah, and the front of the book, it says on tour with the golden generation of tennis and the other 99%.
Yes.
And it's because that's a side of it that we don't always see. You see the Djokovic's, the Nadals, etc. and so forth, the Williams sisters, but there's a whole tour that involves a huge amount of players, and this is a kind of a slice of life into that.
Exactly. So my career high was 129 in the world. So I was in a nice position where I was getting access to the top 100, which is the main Grand Slams, but then I was also spending time in the lower tiers of pro tennis. So I was in the locker room with your Federers and your Djokovic's, and obviously played Djokovic and practice with the Williams sisters. But then I'd be schlepping it down to challenger events in Uzbekistan, taking 7-hour taxis with my luggage sort of bouncing on my lap for kind of low money and all that. So I was able to see both sides. So I was in a nice position where I could show that side of the tour that you don't see, because everyone obviously tunes into Wimbledon for 2 weeks a year, and then they kind of forget about pro tennis. So this was a chance for us to show what that world is really like, the reality of it, how competitive it is.
Oh, how competitive it is, but also, the prize money down that end isn't that great.
No.
So it is open to persuasions, shall we say.
Yeah. So again, something that I go into in the book is, yes, this there's the gambling element, and obviously, if you want to bet on pro tennis, you don't have to just bet on Grand Slams. You can bet on futures events. So you can bet on a $15,000 futures event in the Philippines right now if you go onto your phone. And lots of these players who are playing it are almost part time. They might be making €200-300 a week. So it is susceptible to that. It's not rife in tennis, but there's an element of it, and there's a tennis integrity unit. So I go into that side of it, the doping element as well. So yeah, you see sort of all sides of pro tennis.
Yeah, the money that you got for the award you won, though, the William Hill Award, is ironically a lot more than you won on any event in the tour.
Yeah, no, it is. It was €36,000, give or take, for winning this. My biggest check, I think, was Wimbledon, qualified into main draw Wimbledon. I think it was about €19,000, €20,000. So yeah, pretty much double that. I think if you lose first round of Wimbledon now, it's actually improved the prize money at the lower levels in Grand Slam qualifying and first round has actually improved quite a bit in the last 10 years. But there's still a long way to go. And yeah, like I talk about getting, prize money where I'm literally paid in coins at some futures events, where if you take your stringing costs out and you're maybe a fine for saying a bad word or something, all of a sudden, you're down to kind of getting €100 or something. So it's not that lucrative.
It's not all glamorous,
no,
as it may
fortunately
seem
not.
on the screens.
Okay, look, tennis in Ireland, when you managed to break through at Wimbledon and the US Open, this was a big deal for Ireland. You could have played Davis Cup for England.
Yes.
And your career could have been different?
Yeah, so I was born in England. We moved back to Ireland. My parents are Irish. My dad moved over there for work for a few years. So I was 3 when we moved back to Ireland. I could have declared for Britain. And obviously that would have meant wildcards potentially into Wimbledon and some of your lower ranking events as well. And it would have been obviously, probably an easier path for me. But I made my Davis Cup debut for Ireland at 18, and that sort of, I suppose that was the decision made for me, I suppose, at that age. So yes, I could have, and it probably would have made it a little bit easier. But in some ways, I think the carrot of me being the first Irish guy to play Wimbledon in 20, 30 years, I think kind of kept me going as well. I think it was something a little bit, it would have been a little bit special as opposed to being just another British guy to play Wimbledon. So I do think it kind of worked to my advantage in some ways as well.
Yeah. I suppose being around, I suppose some of my heroes in tennis when I was growing up would have been Ivan Lendl and Andre Agassi in their epic battles. But you actually played in the same tournament as Agassi, didn't you?
Yeah, so...
I'm so jealous, by the way. I'm trying to be cool about this, but I'm not.
So there was... well, actually, I wasn't actually in that tournament, but I was at it and I had access to it, and I was in the players' lounge because I was at college in California, and there's a big ATP event in the San Jose Open, which is about 30 minutes from my college. So we got access to the players' lounge for the week, and it's kind of an important scene in the book where I'm sitting in the players' lounge sort of with my back to the door, and I hear this sort of clamour behind me, and I turn around and I see Andre Agassi sort of in the middle of this circle of kind of hangers-on, and they're actually tournament officials, and he's kind of walking through, and they're saying, "Can we get you anything, Andre?" And he sort of says, "Oh, get a glass of water," just to kind of give him something to do. And there's a fridge full of bottled water, like right there. And somebody still just runs off and comes back with this like chilled glass of water. He takes a little sip and he puts it down. And I'm sort of sitting right beside watching all this. That I'm a fly on the wall. Nobody even knows I'm there. And I'm kind of looking at this glass of water and the fingerprints of Andre Agassi in the glass, and then the kind of the gaggle of people sort of move on, and I'm sort of left staring at this glass of water thinking, I thought he was lonely. I read his book, He looked like he had a lot of support. So that's the thing about pro tennis is they actually get big appearance fees, the top players. So there's prize money, but then they can be getting 6, 7 figures for turning up at events just to play. So your very, very top guys command that.
Like Agassi mentioned being lonely, but like his lonely was different to the lonely that you experienced as you toured.
Yeah, I tried to have a coach with me when I travelled, but my first few months on tour, I didn't realise, what the whole thing entailed, I suppose. And I did a few weeks on my own. And I remember doing about 4 weeks in Switzerland. And at the end of the 4 weeks, I was entering a tournament in Scotland the week after, and I was in the airport, and I kind of phoned home and said, listen, I think I'm going to take a break. I've just spent like the last 4 weeks on my own. And my mum's like, no, go and play. You can't not turn up now on Monday. This is your job now, you know. So I went and I played and lost semi-finals, and I lost an absolute battle. And I go up to get my prize money, go back to the prize money thing, and they hand me a check for like €200. And I'm like, oh, this is my job now. So not a bar of laughs. Tried to have a coach with me just to help with that. And that was as much company and somebody to have dinner with, and somebody just to be in your corner as opposed to the technical stuff. Whereas going back to the players from the bigger federations like the British, the Australian, the US Open, the French, they have their big Grand Slams, they have huge funding, and they're able to support their players. But it was also important in this book that this isn't me whinging about my pro career for 250 pages. So there's, I suppose, I like to think there's a lack of bitterness in the book, that it's, I try and bring a bit of humour about it, and just to show that world without me, as I say, moaning about it for the whole book. Hopefully I found that balance.
Well, listen, it's a great book, as we can see by your lovely award on the table here. So congratulations on that. And it's given it another lease of life, might I add. So continued success in your writing career. I'm sure there'll be another one down the line.
We'll see.
Very non-committal there. Very non-committal.
You can read all about the Williamses and his match against Djokovic and beating Roger Federer as well. Yeah, early in his career too.
There you go.
It's all there in the book. Anyway.
It's still to come. Could the new year be the sign you need a career change?
We're discussing career pivots after this break.
You're very welcome back. Now, a recent survey found that nearly 70% of the Irish workforce is planning a career change in 2025.
If you're ready for a fresh start in the new year, we've got just the guest for you. Psychologist Sinéad Brady is here to help. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're so welcome.
We've all these New Year's, new you, but for a lot of people, this is the time they want to spring clean their life and literally their work life as well. So it is a time of great change for a lot of people.
Yeah, it really is. And it's what we call a temporal landmark. So a temporal landmark is a date of significance in the year for you. So for some people it would be New Year's, for other people it would be September, for example, because that's when we tended to go back to school. It might be a birthday, but New Year's is a big one for people. It's where they're kind of saying, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, and they've got all the ideas. And then for other people, it can feel like a pressure that you should be doing something. So yes, it's a temporal landmark, and absolutely, if there's small tweaks or changes that you can make, why not try them now and start off the year in a good foot?
Well, Sinead, how could somebody go into a job hunt or maybe look for a promotion within their current organisation with a positive mindset?
So the really important thing is that we are so used to working in our careers. So we're so busy doing what's expected of us, hitting the KPIs, doing all that kind of stuff, that we don't always work on our career. And what happens is we end up saying, God, how did this happen to me? Or how did I end up here? Or is this it? So what you want to be doing is working on your career as well as in your career. So you need a strategy for your career just the same as you need a strategy for anything else that you're doing. So it's to be really clear on what you want. So if it's a promotion or if it's a career change or whatever that looks like, be really clear on where you're going and how you're going to go there. So that's the clarity piece. And when you have clarity, then you know what to say yes to and what to say no to. You can protect your yes and own your no. So really understanding what you want, why you want it, and then having a plan for yourself that's based on quarters. So, you know, this is what I'm going to do quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. And been really practical about what's possible to do for you during, like, it's not possible, I suppose, to go from entry level to running the business in 4 quarters. You have to look at, like, what are the steps in between? What does the framework for success actually look like? But it is about kind of having a plan and also reminding yourself of what you have done. Because we often, I think as Irish people, we're really good at saying, I was part of a great team, or, you know, and we downplay our role in things. So really understand your role in whatever projects that you've been part of, so that when it does come to that promotion, you're ready to nail it.
Now, whatever about a job change, which can be simple enough in one way, a lot of people want more, a complete career change, which is a different ballgame.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you've brought up that distinction, because a job change and a career change are two entirely different processes. So job tends to be within the same industry, possibly even within the same company, but you might be moving to a different location. Career is changing fundamentally the function of what you do. So it is kind of moving from maybe being a teacher to becoming a doctor, you know, and that's just very extreme. But it is where you need to upskill, reskill or retrain in order to do that job and to meet the professional standards necessary to professionally do that job. So it's a completely different, and again, we have to think about it as taking time. It's not going to happen quickly. And anybody says that they, you know, did the career change in 6 months or 6 weeks, I would suggest that the end part might have taken that long, but actually the process of getting to there is 18 months, 2 years, and could even be longer.
Yeah, so you have to think in that the long term really than just deciding it overnight, because that can really actually put your whole life backwards if you do something too impulsively.
Something, and what happens then is, you know, financially, you know, so if you make a change very quickly, financially it can impact you, and financial insecurity is something you just don't want to be facing, you know, where you're struggling with rent and bills, and we've got a cost of living crisis anyway, so you don't want to add to that. So slowly and proactively is how you do it, and then you do it in a way that works for you, so that you can then, you know, go into that particular role in a way that keeps you financially secure, but also doesn't put you under so much stress that you're unable to function, or that you become burnt out or sick.
Do you need to consider what is currently happening in economics or politics before you decide upon a career or a job change?
So I think that's a really interesting question. I think you need to figure out what you want first. So where are you going and where are you growing? You absolutely need to know. So get clear on what you want, and then you look up and look around. Because if you're too influenced by what other people are saying, what's going on in the world around you, definitely that is something to consider. But the most important thing, and I think when we think about our careers and our jobs, you're one person looking for one job. And I'm sure you would have heard several times, maybe it's hard to break into show business or whatever. And here you are with sustainable careers. So you're one person looking for one job. And if you're good at it, and if you're really skilled and you're willing to put in the time and the effort, most people will really get to where they want to go. So yes, politics is important. Yes, the wider socio-cultural, you know, climate is important, but what do you want? Why do you want it? And then be really clear and courageous. It's not about confidence, it's about courage, and it's about stepping one foot in front of the other. So I think that's really important as well.
But sometimes if we do plan these things, the faraway hills are always greener, aren't they? And you might get your new job, or you might change your career and go, what in the name of God have I done?
Yes.
I have made a huge mistake. Is there any way of coming from that?
Yes, so that's coming back to working on your career rather than in it all of the time. So if you're making a plan for your career, you've already talked to people, you've been out in industry, you've done an awful lot of the groundwork and the research before you've made the jump. And absolutely, you might find that once you've made the jump, it's not what you had hoped it would be. So what you need to do at that point, or what you need to make sure is at that point, that you've remained networked within your previous role, within your previous industry, that you don't burn bridges. So that if you do make the decision to go back or to segue back, it's not, you know, the worst thing in the world that has ever happened. You're going back with transferable skills anyway, with new understanding. So don't worry too much if that happens. It can take time to go back, just like it took time to move away from it. It can take time to go back, but it is possible. So nothing is ever, you know, final. It is always possible. And sometimes it's really important just to work with somebody that's able to give you objective support, and they can help you then to just figure out those steps, whether it's the steps forward, or if you're deciding that, you know, you've made the wrong decision and you need to go back, then that person can help you to do that.
Is it important to have like a taste of the new career before you actually make up your mind definitively, as in like maybe do a bit of work experience on the side or something like that, so you have a real feel for it?
Yeah, I think if you can, the more low risk exposure to a role, to a career, to an industry that you can get, the better, because it gives you insight. But nothing will prepare you for 48 odd Mondays in that role consistently, because, you know, the ebbs and flows of industries shift and change. So, and the other thing I think that's really important to say is, you're not, even if you find a career that you absolutely adore, you're not going to jump out of bed every day running for joy out the door. You know, that just doesn't happen. If you get about a 60 to 80% joy, engagement, there's going to be hard days, there's going to be tough days, there's going to be days that you don't like what you're doing. It is almost impossible to get a job that absolutely, or a career that you love every moment of. And I think we have to be a little bit realistic around that. It doesn't mean you should stay in a toxic environment. It doesn't mean you should stay in something that you really don't enjoy. But 100% of the time, jumping out of bed, running to work, that's just, you know, that's for the movies, I think. So let's, you know, be kind to ourselves about that. And if you have somewhere that's you're financially secure, you've got good colleagues, you're enjoying what you're doing, 60 to 80% of the time is a really good, you know, I suppose, barometer of enjoyment.
In fairness, we're fairly happy bunnies this morning, aren't we? We're bouncing around the studio
I've seen it.
I
can vouch
we're
for
some
that.
of the lucky ones then, clearly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us
Not
on the
at
show
all.
today with your New Year's career advice. Now, after the break, Derek's getting bendy in a Pilates class.
He's warming up as we speak. See you back here in a bit. Welcome back. Now, Derek's kicking off his New Year's health kick this morning.
He's stretching himself for the Pilates class in Dunleary in Dublin.
Right, Derek, how are you getting on?
Oh, we're limbering up here this morning, guys. Isn't that right, Patricia?
Absolutely.
Good morning to you. Yeah?
Good morning to you too, Derek.
Yeah, great. It's fantastic to be down here at the Happy Out Cafe. Now, first up, before we get into health and nutrition and exercise, give us your background.
So I'm a personal trainer. I'm also a nutritionist and Pilates instructor, and my business is called Real People. So
Okay. Right. Where did you study?
In UCD, and then MNU Nutrition and multiple other places as well along the way.
Okay, great. And you work with people from all variety.
Yeah, so I work with one-to-one clients, corporate clients, and then I have online offerings as well.
Okay, great. Now, new year, new you, and we have a whole spread here in front of us. Diet and nutrition, really important.
Absolutely, yeah. So New Year, what I always say is this year, let's look to add things into the diet. So rather than thinking we need to take things away and adding in those fat diets, we want to think, what can we add in? So here you can see such a beautiful array of colour. I was saying everyone should try to get more fibre into the diet, because in Ireland, actually only 20% of people are getting enough fibre. So if you're not getting colour all the time, you're probably not getting enough. So, you know, adding in more fruit, more vegetables, acai bowls, you know, that's going to, whole grain carbohydrates, that's going to really help with your gut health and also just helping you keep full for longer.
Your vegetables, you're saying, I know, we all know they're important, but we should be getting more of them in.
Absolutely, and the more variety the better, because think about it that everything has a different benefit. So, you know, you want to get more variety in there. The other thing you want to look at is your protein intake. So a lot of people this time of the year are looking to stay full for longer because they're looking to potentially lose a bit of body fat, build strength. So protein sources, we're looking at your meat, your fish, your eggs, your beans, lentils, pulses. Can we get more of them into the diet?
What are we looking at then in terms of protein? Is it 1 gram of protein per pound of body fat?
We're looking at 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilo of body weight per
kilo.
day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So for most people, they don't want to work out the numbers, and that's absolutely fair enough. So what I'd say is just get about a quarter of your plate to resemble protein in every single meal. So
fat-wise, a lot of us are trying to shed the fat this time of year after a couple of weeks of gorging on all the goodness of Christmas. Fats are still important in our diet.
Absolutely. Like, you don't want to feel guilty for Christmas. I always say, like, you enjoyed it. You know, it'd be a shame to think about this time of the year and not have good memories. So now we just move forward. So healthy fats are really important. So you want oily fish, your nuts, your seeds, things like avocados are brilliant as well. A small amount goes a long way. So, you know, a teaspoon is generally a portion, which people do not like to hear.
Now, hop over here to me, because you wear two hats. Not only are you a nutritionist, but you're also a PT coach and a Pilates instructor.
Absolutely, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So I think it ties in quite nicely. Like, as I said, my business is called Real People, and we do different challenges. So I have like my 8-week habit building challenge, which is starting on Monday, and really we tie it all in together. So I love the combination, because you can't do one without the other. You know, you can't get results without looking at your diet, and then you can't get results without putting the exercise in. So it's all about a lifestyle for me, creating that healthy lifestyle, but also being realistic, enjoying the good foods and the foods that maybe are a little bit more indulgent, but balancing them in nicely.
We were talking about the 3 6s earlier. Go through them again for us.
So at this time of the year, people are trying something new. Okay, ask yourself, will I still be doing this in 6 weeks' time? Happily. In 6 months' time, will I still be doing it? And in 6 years' time, will you still be doing that? And if the answer is no, it's probably too ambitious a task. So could we do something a little bit smaller, something a little bit more realistic? And you'll probably enjoy it more anyway. So make it enjoyable. Like, it has to be enjoyable, otherwise you're not going to do it.
creating habits.
Yes.
It's the time of year to do it.
Hard thing to do.
It's a hard thing to do. What advice would you give to viewers at home in terms of creating those steady habits now for the new year?
Ask yourself, why are you doing it? So what's your why? Some people will say, well, I want to lose body fat, but why is that? So find those micro goals within that. So maybe it's to have a healthier lifestyle because you've been told you need to get healthier, but do you need to lose body fat? That's the first question. What are the small other things during the week? So maybe we want to build a strength goal as well. So have multiple goals that will get you up in the morning and get you going, because losing body fat's not going to be enough in those cold winter mornings to get out and get to the gym.
You're a big fan of Pilates.
Yes.
A hard one to take up?
No, it's actually brilliant because you can do it anywhere, anytime. You can join any class online. I do them my own, but you can do anywhere. And all you need is yourself and a mat. And it's a brilliant way to build strength. Now, people will say, oh, Pilates isn't a good enough workout. Try a workout. That's what I tell them to do.
The difference then between yoga and Pilates?
So there's a variety of different types of yoga and Pilates. The main one I'd say is like when you're looking at Pilates, what I try to do is really focusing on building core strength. And when people do Pilates, you'll find that they actually stand quite tall. It's also brilliant for injury prevention, or if you have an injury. So I find that's brilliant.
And you were talking about a back injury that you had before, and in fact Pilates has helped you greatly.
It's really, really helped me. So I just find it's less impact on the body. Sometimes we feel like we have to be going the whole time. HIIT training, strength training, it's so intense. Sometimes when we actually step back and go lower impact, we can get better results. So I find that a lot with clients. So sometimes if you're coming into the new year and you're thinking, I need to do something, I want to do something, but I don't like those sessions, don't do something that you don't enjoy,
Real people. I love what it's about as well, and you offer online classes.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's REAL stands for realistic eating and living. So that's my whole philosophy. We're starting a habit building challenge on Monday. It's nutrition, training, mindset. We've got recipes in there, and it's like a group approach, but you also get your one-to-one accountability. So it's great.
Okay, great. And you're in with a group as well. So as you said,
yeah, people can be pushed on, and also we can share recipes and things like that. So after the 8 weeks, people should finish feeling like they've got a good knowledge base and they are able to keep going, because there's no point in doing it if it's not going to be long term.
And as you said, it's all about the 3 6s.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, great. Now, before we let you go, and by the way, I know you're getting married this year, aren't you? Down in Jingle. Hello to your fiancé and all the gang. Your mammy's tuned in as well. She is. Say hello to Mammy.
Hello.
Come on. Tara has been very good. She's taken over the class. You're going to take over now for a minute or so and guide people at home.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to come down to our mats. Derek, you're going to join me here, and we're going to come down and we're going to go for a quick little flow. So we're going to pulse. So we're going to bring the leg up, right leg up. We're going to pulse 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and swap legs. And we're going to bring it up. 1, 2, 3, 4. How are we getting on? 6, 7, 8. Bring the legs down. We're going to go for a couple push-ups here. So we're going to inhale down. Keep the elbows tight by the sides. 2. Good. We're just going to 5 here, everyone, in case they're worried. 3, 4, 5. Okay, come up to that plank. Hold your body here. So you're seeing Pilates isn't a joke.
No. Come on, Elaine, Martin, Brooke. Come on, guys.
Okay, from here we're going to push ourselves up. Okay, stand here. Okay, and we're going to hold in a squat position here. So sitting down, stay down nice and deep. Deeper, deeper, deeper.
We're pulsing,
beautiful. And we're going to pulse. Derek's taking over. Lovely. Good. Stay here. And then come back to those hands, back down to that plank. Hold yourself here. Okay. And then we're going to go across the body. So bring your knee to opposite elbow and twist through the torso so you can feel like your obliques are on here.
I've given up.
Is everyone breathing in the back? I feel like I've lost everyone.
We're enjoying it, guys.
4
Back
more
to you.
here. 3, 2, 1. Good. Drop to those knees and just press it back.
Okay, where can we find out more online?
Realpeople.ie.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
to
you.
all our group. Guys, bit of a boola bus there.
Well done.
Well done. Thanks so much for this morning. Back to studio. Whew, that's good. It feels good.
Coming up on tomorrow's show,
Are you all right?
we are buttering up Dancing with the Stars judge Arthur Gurlian ahead of Liam's first dance this weekend.
Yeah, we're also going to be beating the January blues with Happiness Doctor, Dr. Andy Cope, and Ham Sandwich lead singer Niamh Farrell will be dropping by as well.
All that plus a new sport, and whether you're waking up to from 9 a.m. I'll be rehearsing tomorrow, so don't miss me too much.
No. All right.
We've got some text in about love. Thank goodness.
Love.
Yvonne said, I met my partner at a dance. He came over to me and said, one day I'll end up with you, and he did.
And plenty of people offering advice for Jamie.
Jamie, who's madly in love with the girl he's dating.
But he gets all nervous whenever she's around.
Yeah.
Donald says, want to let Jamie know that a faint heart never won a fair maid.
Ooh.
Oh,
Just
as
tell
does
her.
Colin.
Tell her, Jamie.
Who
Come
takes
on.
in to say sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I promise you this, it's always better to know than to wonder.
You say, don't
Carol,
have regrets.
Best of luck on Dancing with the Stars. I'm so excited to see how you get on.
Oh, there's plenty of people wishing you well. Fern says, good luck on the show, but I know you don't need it. You've taken so many dance classes on this show. You must be a pro by now.
I presume that's sarcasm.
Anyway, everybody's saying break it out. Well, actually, don't. And listen, good luck.
Good luck.
Oh,
You'll
we'll all be
brilliant.
watching.
You'll be
Good luck.
brilliant.
You're going to be
Light a
great.
candle for me.
It's gonna
Say
be
a prayer
brilliant.
to St. Anthony and St. Jude and everybody else. Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.